Guys, welcome to the Gray Area. My name is Dr. Gray. In this particular YouTube channel, we talk about productivity and personal growth. And speaking about personal growth, I have a very special guest today. This is going to be the very first guest in a series that I intend to do on finding purpose in life. They say charity begins at home. I don't know if you can tell the similarity, but guys, this is my younger brother. He has a fantastic story to tell us about personal growth. So, start by introducing yourself.
My name is Adi Madoya. I'm 25 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in architectural studies. I'm also a partner at an upcoming architectural practice called London Consult. I'm very passionate about technology and innovation as a whole.
So, Adi, tell us what is London Consult and what is London Consult about?
London Consult is a design consultancy that was formulated to address a problem in the market. The problem we had noticed with most of the clients we were working with in the architectural field was that they were not too familiar with typical architectural ways of communicating.
Okay.
The typical ways architects communicate is through line work, a lot of dimensions on paper, and the blueprints. However, if you're not a technical person, it's very hard to understand the intention. So London Consult came up, rather identified this problem in the market and sought to offer a solution to clients. This we decided to use visualization to pitch better and to understand clients better when addressing their problems. So we bring together an exceptional team of artists mostly. These are artists who are gathered from various other fields, especially in the technology world, to come and integrate their practice into our practice and communicate better as architects.
Okay, fine. If I was to ask you to put all of that in 2 sentences, what does London Consult do? And imagine that you're talking to a layman. I'm a layman when it comes to architecture and whatnot. So tell me in 2 sentences, you're talking about visualization. What does visualization mean?
When you're approached, rather as a client, when you approach us to design a building for you, you have your dream inside your head. And then you're always trying to communicate what you saw inside your head to a person who has more knowledge in that field to develop it. So London Consult is able to extract the concept out of your head and to put it on paper or any other media that is graphic to communicate.
Fantastic. That's the answer I was looking for. Good. So when were you guys established? How long has the business been in the market?
We celebrated 1 year our first year anniversary on 17th January 2021.
Okay.
We've only been around for a year as a practice, London Consult, but before that we still used to practice only as individuals rather. And then we decided to build something bigger than what we'd ever be as individuals. And then London Consult
was born out of that. Alright, good. Rumor has it that you have been to Medschool. True or false?
It's true. I've been to Medschool.
Alright. My question to you is, how did you get yourself to Medschool?
I graduated from high school in 2013. I was in Medschool school. Then I was called to the University of Nairobi to pursue a degree in medicine and surgery. So I went to pursue medicine and surgery. I think I was caught up in the excitement of doing well in the examinations, and I decided, well, let me try this.
Let me interrupt. Dear viewers, when he says he did well, he's being very modest. This guy was part of those guys you get on the front page of the newspaper. My father is very proud of him. He has it framed somewhere. It's hidden. That specific newspaper is hidden somewhere in the house. That's how well he did. I think it's important for the story.
So
Continue.
I joined med school, and we started off anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. Remind me the two more.
I think you were doing behavioral science and
Behavioral
IT.
science and IT. Yeah, actually IT.
Yeah.
Like IT, although after first semester it what else. So yeah, we did all those. I struggled through med school. Part of the reason I struggled through med school was I don't think I was a self-motivated student in med school. I actually had no motivation for school. I just found myself going through a routine every day, wake up, go to school, come back, go sit for class. And it was really wearing. It was really wearing because when you don't have that self-drive and you're always looking for excuses out. This was an interesting period of my life also because maybe I didn't know I was getting to find myself in this whole process. And I spent my first year at med school. I also, in that first year, I really struggled to understand how people were coping in that environment. There's a lot of pressure in med school and pressure to excel, even for your own sake. And I didn't quite get a hold of how people were doing it. There's a lot of content that needed to be read every day. So I really struggled to get a hold of now the teacher wasn't going to give you as much, probably 20%, and then the 80 is purely your own effort. And so I struggled through that, and unfortunately, even before I could get a hold of what was going on, and much as I put in my own effort in what I thought was the right way I should do it, I failed my exam at the end of the year, which was the first time in my life I've actually been recommended to repeat.
I hope that has sunk in it, alright? So this guy is number 51 in the country. He was the best in aviation studies in the country. He was amongst the top 10 students in Nyanza province, and I think he was amongst the top 30 male students in the country. And here he is, he gets into med school. He should be sitting at the front row there with the other bright students, Ukombele. He gets to his first year of exams and he fails. And he says that this is the first time that he has failed in his life. This is the reason why I brought this guest here today. I needed you to know, and he's going to tell us that the importance of failing in life. That is going to be the theme of this particular episode. Why it is important to fail in life. All right? So tell us, you failed for the first time. I want to know, first of all, what are the emotions that are going on in your mind? What are you thinking about? How are you feeling after failing for the first time? Let's start with the emotions. That day, I know how it's done. So the results are pinned up on the wall. They just put the names, and then you go looking for your name. I know you look for it like 5 times. Tell us, how did that day go? In fact, tell us, how did that day start? How did that day go, if you can remember?
Actually, correction. It was not the first time I was failing in my life. It was the first time I had really failed to a point that they had said I'd been recommended for a repeat.
Okay.
Like there are levels to it.
Yes. There are levels to failure. Another mental note.
Yeah, like I felt like this was really low. This was really low. And I kept wondering how bad must I have been for me to have been recommended, not even a supplemented. It was direct, straight repeat. On this day, I wake up. Of course, I'm expecting results as everyone. They normally send them on the WhatsApp group, and they send the results on the WhatsApp group. You quickly check, you don't see your name, and of course, you're really panicked. And then you're like, oh, something must have gone wrong.
There's a page missing from that. From that WhatsApp list, there's a page missing.
You dress up, leave. I go to Kenyatta. I think it was Kenyatta. Kenyatta or Chiromo. I go to Kenyatta. Kenyatta.
That's where the University of Nairobi Health Sciences campus is.
Yeah. So I rush to Kenyatta. I check the list that's actually physically paid, and I can't find my name. And then I ask around. You know, I also don't want to ask my family what's in there around. I don't want them to find too soon until I know the situation. So I go to I ask around the secretary, what should I do? And they tell me, okay, so you'll be given a letter that will tell you where you stand, whether it's a supplementary or a special, under investigation, or retake. Of course, I'll never forget that letter. When I was finally given the letter, I tried to quickly open the envelope. I was alone, stepped aside, opened it. The letter has a lot of words. But there are only 3 things that are bold, rather 2 things. The main agenda, which would be either supplementary, special, and investigation, and then whatever they recommend there in reference to what they mention. So of course I can open it, and the first thing you see is retake. It's many more it's retake, biochemistry, anatomy. Yeah, biochemistry and anatomy. And my heart sunk. Anatomy is the heaviest unit in first year of medicine. It's so heavy, it's so wide. It's the one thing you hope. I'd rather repeat the rest, not anatomy. So I saw that and I was really confused. I went home, I cried. Didn't know what to tell people. I avoided people for a while. I called my mom. I told her this is what had happened, and everyone was shocked actually. Everyone was pretty shocked how that had happened. There was so much stigma in failing. The people you're not sure you want to meet them anymore. You're not sure what they're going to say about you. They always say, people always talk. People are saying, Waliba. There are people who are just waiting to talk. It can really get into your head. And for me, to avoid that, I just put a wall around myself. Much as I was like, okay, I haven't figured shit out, but let me just, I don't need that energy. So I had a very small circle of close friends who helped me put that wall, but unfortunately also we had almost all failed. So I wondered how that would go. And so after a while, I came to terms with it. Maybe after a month or so searching, I kept on asking myself, is this really what I want to do? And I said, okay, let me give it a try. Okay.
Now, so you decide that, fine, you want to retake the year. But even before that, I want to take you back. I remember I was there as part of the stakeholders in your learning process or in your med school life. And I remember that day too. And I remember calling my mother, or our mother, very frantic. Hey, I'm trying to get this guy on the phone. He's not picking up his phone. His phone is off. I don't know where he is. Have you talked to him? Tell me a bit more about that day. Where were you? What were you doing? This world that you had built around you, what was going on?
People are going to ask you very hard questions, which I'm also looking for answers
to
as well. Yeah, so I thought it was an unfair position. I just needed to sit down, absorb everything alone. And because at the end of the day, this was going to be my life, I needed to make a decision that was based around me and without anyone's pressure. Hence, I decided I wanted to keep off everyone. I know everyone panicked. Why would you do that? Why are you not on the phone? But I felt for the sake of my own sanity, I needed to just think about what had happened and what's my next move before I reach out to anyone. I think that has always been my approach, unfortunately, to most special situations. I've always thought I don't want to make a decision out of so much pressure. But if I do, I need to be alone to just think it through and think how it affects me. And before I approach anyone for advice, I want to know what I'm bringing to them to counter or have that conversation around.
Fine. Okay, I understand. So now you have decided, fine, I'm going to retake my year. What I want to understand is what were your guiding principles? What are some of the the thoughts that you had that helped you decide that fine, I'll retake? What was your motivation behind retaking the year? Because it's not an easy decision.
Yeah.
To lose a whole year.
I convinced myself that I'm not a failure. First of all, I'd convinced myself completely that I'm not a failure. I'd convinced myself that I had slipped. And luckily enough, I identified the gaps in what could have led to my failure. One of them was my reading technique. I heavily depended on the teacher or whatever I'll be given in class. While med school was quite the opposite. What you're given class is so little compared to what you need to read on your own. And actually, I went through the first year of med school almost without ever opening a text other than what was directly provided to me. And I knew for sure that made a difference for my friends who had excelled in school, all of them. I did med school the first year without being in a group discussion at all. And group discussions, I would learn med school without group discussions is almost impossible.
It is impossible. I'm here to confirm that it is impossible.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. So I had a really honest conversation with myself, and I realized that things I could do better before I convinced myself this isn't it. And so I settled it with my heart that I was going to do it. Though it was going to be hard because I think my biggest challenge was the stigma. I was just scared my friends are moving ahead. I imagine there's a competition, so 1 year behind, which means I'll never catch up. They graduate before me. I'll always be that kid. I imagine. How am I going to relate with them in school when they see me? What are they going to say about me? The stigma was harder to overcome than even my acknowledgement of I could do better. Yeah, just that interaction for me was going to be really hard. At least I made this known to you, I made this known to my mom, I made this known to my dad, and everyone supported me. That was also one good thing. As soon as I decided I'm taking it back, everyone joined and just supported.
Okay, good. So tell us about your experience in the second year.
So I go back to med school and I start first year again. I went through the process again. At least I started off well actually, because I remember doing better in actually all the subjects, significantly, maybe by almost 30%, which for me was very encouraging. I felt like, okay, this is okay, and maybe that was because of everything was familiar. But then as things started going on, more and more involved, I think that also that familiarity came with a lot of content. Just ignorance. I'm familiar to this, so I don't need to attend this class. I can do my own. I remember this last year we did it training. So I always imagine that catch up. Also, I was very hell bent on providing for myself. So I used to juggle between a part-time job and school. And so basically, this is another thing that really would take away my attention from school, because I was like, okay, I need to make money, and at the same time, I need to attend school. Whatever I'm meant to be taught, I'm familiar with it. So let me just go to work in the afternoon. And then things would pile up and pile up and pile up, and it only hits you when the exam comes. To be honest, in that second year, I think the build-up towards my exam, I was less involved in school, because now the business was more in my head than even school. Yeah, and I went through that entire process, and of course to the end of it, we sat for the exams, and also I had this notion in my head, you can't fail twice. Yeah, you can't fail twice. It's med school, they wanted to punish you once, after this one, then shock on me, and results came, and I failed.
Again.
Again.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Now tell us about this second round of emotions.
Yeah, the second one was actually, that one hit me hard. There was a lot of denial, and you can imagine, if you felt the stigma then, what will they say now? This guy failed twice. just first year. Feels to
Just first year.
Just first year. As in, how do you even continue? People always used to say in med school, if you've already failed first year twice, just know combined in another place, then you'll have a tough time. And so it was very difficult for me to. This was one of the worst periods of my life. I remember when I got my results that day, I was in complete denial. I switched off my phone. I used to stay in Kilimani. I switched off my phone. Immediately I left school and saw my results because everyone was expecting the results. My dad already had called the secretary to us, so he was told, very disappointed. My mom didn't know he was waiting to hear from me. I think he had also found out from the school. So I just switched off my phone. This time actually I threw my SIM card. I was like, I just know the pressure, let me just go sit down. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll just go sit down. Remember I went to the center and I shopped food for 1 week. And then I went to my house and I told the gate man, if anyone comes to this house and you tell them I'm here, it's your job will be on the line. So mimi siko, person is nobody. And I stayed in that house for 1 week. I bought a new SIM card so that I could reach who I need to reach in this period. And I didn't talk to anyone for a week. This was the height of depression. There were very long nights. Because I just sat and just thinking, what happens? Can I really do this again? What are people talking about? Yeah, so at the end of the day, I'd go to the gate man and ask him, so who came to look for me today? So he would tell me, kijana alikuja na Volkswagen, alikuja hapo saa 6 akaenda, okay, that's you. Then later on he tells me, mama alikuja mara 2, akaenda na gari ya white. So I know that's my mom. But then my mom stays in Kiseri. And I try to picture it's a working day. And she's driven twice from work.
With Rongai traffic,
Rongai traffic, just to check up. I imagine she was worried, sick. So it would, I'm like, okay, I know they're worried, but I actually don't have a solution. I'm not going to talk to them until I know what's my plan. And finally, at the end of that week, I think I reached out to my mom and I told her, I want to meet you, but I want to meet you alone. Like, don't set me up for a family meeting. I just want to meet you and tell you what's in my heart. Because my mom had really sent me messages and told me, come, no one, we just want to talk. Yeah. So I was like, okay, let me come. I went and met her at home. And she told me, do you feel like you tried hard enough? And I told her, no. Are you going to go back? And I also told her, I'm not going back to Medschool. So what's your plan? I told her, okay, my results came out really late. So it means the classes were really going on. It was like, I want to do something else. I want to do something I'm going to enjoy. Yeah. And I want to do something for me. And so what have you decided? I told her, well, I tried to, I actually told her, this is part of the reason I took the week off. During the week I tried to investigate what other courses I could do. And rather, whatever I picked at that moment was my pressure for intake. I didn't want to miss any intake or a year gap again. So I told her I had really applied to the School of Engineering to do pursue spatial engineering. And I'd also applied for civil engineering. And I was in the process of applying for architecture. Yeah, so I told her all those are done. However, there was a big problem, which might be I might be changed from a regular student
to
a pilot.
Sub-sponsor.
Yeah, and then that would mean
the cost implications.
The cost implication may go from 28,000 to 100,000. The heaviest burden in my heart was I don't want anyone to remind me of my mistakes. So I didn't want, if it goes to parallel, if somebody starts training themselves to pay that fee, it will always come off. You owe them that allegiance. And I said, I told my mom, for the next phase of my life, I'll pay my own fee. I'll pay for my own mistakes. Yeah, so I'll cater for that. My mom asked me, is this what you have set with your heart? Stop telling me about architecture, geospatial, and civil engineering. I feel like you're still gambling. And I told her, I want to do architecture. And she said, if that's what you want to do, I will support you. I've never forgotten that conversation. Today we had that conversation on her bed, 10 p.m. in the night, and she said good night. And I left. And I went to art school and I tried and maneuvered my way alone, so much that I managed to convince them to do an interfaculty without a year gap. Without a year gap, I convinced them to let me join the class at just weekend. Okay. And quickly, I'm off there. I'm off that campus. I don't have to meet with those guys. The stigma is still there, so you're also avoiding all those people and being used to friends.
Tremendous story. Like I promised, this is a tremendous story. Now I have a couple of points, or rather a question. Here you are, that you're admitting part of the problem, part of the reason why you failed your second year is because you are out there, let me call it hustling, to get cash and in business and getting money. And then that took you away from school. And then the second time that you, or rather the part of the reason why you get into art school is because you want to pay for your own sin. Were you not worried that you would end up in the same cycle, whereby you're fending for yourself and at the same time you're in school?
I think one thing for me, which I accepted, many people, rather in my family mostly, want to be comfortable with the environment I had created, or rather the lifestyle I had created, where I'd actually set out to be comfortable. Yeah, I think at every point in my life, I always wanted to be comfortable.
Soft life. You're not about the struggle, man.
I always wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to be comfortable on someone's budget. I just wanted to do my own thing. And so my experience into working, I started working as soon as I left high school in November. And in February, I had a job and I started working. And I loved the financial freedom. And so I always believed there's a way you can make it work. Maybe I just need to learn, but there's a way definitely you can make it. Yeah, you can make it work. And so even when I went to art school, I think I was very conscious on how to address that from a very early stage.
Okay.
Yeah, but I knew this was not my personal journey because there were just people who were watching me to see.
Okay. Yeah, whether this guy fails again. All right. The other question I have for you, you mentioned briefly that the wall that you built around you and the circle of friends that you built around you, all of you had failed. Did I get that right? Okay, fine. Tell me a bit more about that. Do you think that it is by coincidence that you found yourself in a group of people where all of you failed? Or there are common mistakes you guys made?
Now I can admit that you're your company. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence.
Something we're told from high school, but you're like, mom, I know my friends.
Now I can admit it was not by chance that that's how the outcome came off. Luckily, just changing campuses meant I just had to start everything afresh, from my friends, my circles, just everything. It was a fresh start. It's truly a fresh start. And yeah, there are some stayed, some we just drifted. We're still acquaintances. Yeah, but then I appreciate. I don't blame anyone for my mistakes. Yeah, I just appreciate the growth I went through with them.
Okay.
Yeah.